We'll start the session. So quickly, I will walk through the basics of PMP, which we have covered as part of the demo, but for the benefit of the newcomers who have not attended the demo, it will be beneficial for them. So let us see about PMP and PMI certification. So it will be a repeat for someone, but please bear with me for the benefit of your friends so that they are new for this. So PMP stands for Project Management Professional. The full form of PMP is Project Management Professional, and PMP is owned by PMI, Project Management Institute USA. It's a not-for-profit organization with a motto behind to propagate the best practices in project management. They started this PMP certification. So in order to propagate the best practices while managing the project, PMI started this PMP certification, and PMI is the organization which was founded in 1969. Such a old organization, right? It's a not-for-profit organization, as I told you before. There are no commercial interest behind. I request everyone to mute at your end. If you have any questions, you can unmute and you can ask, or you can put it in the chat as well. So I request you to mute at your end. You can right click on the name and yep, on your name and you can mute it. Yeah, thank you. And PMI is an organization founded in 1969, and PMP is a credential, and PMI is the one who manages and monitors the PMP certification exams. You can know more about PMI by visiting their website www.pmir.org. So this is the website. I'm putting in the chat www.pmi.org. You can know about PMP and PMI. You understand the final nuances of it. And PMP certification is globally recognized certification, and it is one of the most respected certifications in the world when it comes to project management. And this PMP certification is valid for 3 years, and every 3 years you have to renew your certification by obtaining PDUs. What is PDU? PDU stands for Professional Development Unit. What do you mean by this? Normally, it's a human tendency, as we discussed before. Once you get certified, you will relax. You will stop learning new concepts or new development in any field. In order to curb such an attitude, what PMI has done is, even after certification, you have to obtain new developments or you have to augment your knowledge by doing some other trainings. So you can attend some webinars, podcasts, webcasts, some sort of new developments that are happening in across the world. And each 1 hour of learning is equivalent to one PDU, professional development unit. It means you are professionally continuing to develop. You are not stagnant. Your knowledge is not stagnant. So you may get new trends in project management, like agile project management. You can attend some training pertaining to agile project management. So if you attend for 15 hours of training pertaining to agile project management, 15 PDUs will be added. As I told you, every 1 hour of learning is equivalent to one PDU. In that way, you have to gain 60 PDUs in a span of 3 years. So you have quite sufficient time. So in a span of 3 years, you can earn 60 PDUs, right? 60 hours of new learning you have to do. There are some approved webcasts, podcasts by PMI. You can watch those webcasts or podcasts online, or you can attend some trainings like Six Sigma, ITIL, some new learning which will complement your PMP, your project management knowledge. So these courses will complement each other, and these learnings will be considered as your professional development units. It's not only you learn, even you can spread the knowledge of project management. You can conduct some trainings related to project management in your organization officially, and you can claim those hours as PDUs. Even that is allowed. It's not that you train your sister or brother in your house, that cannot be counted as PDU. It should be done officially in your organization, right? And these things are considered as PDU. So 60 PDUs, the moment you do 60 PDUs every 3 years, it will be renewed automatically. Even I do that every 3 years. So I do conduct the training. So I claim that I conduct the trainings. I attend some seminars, some webinars, and I collect the PDUs and I claim in my account on www.pmi.org website. Right. So, and one thing which I want to set the expectations, if anyone is not clear with any of the concepts, feel free to stop me. You need not wait for the entire training to finish. Unless it is not relevant, then I will take it offline separately for that particular person. If it is very much relevant, please stop me, get your doubt clarified, and we'll go to the next topic. Right. You need not feel any intimidation in asking the questions. You shoot the questions. I'm ready to explain. If you're not clear, I'm ready to explain any number of times. There is only one motto: no one is going to step out of this training without understanding the concept. Right? Feel free. It's a free hand I'm giving to you all. Right. And Pmbok. The next topic is Pmbok. Pmbok stands for Project Management Body of Knowledge. Is the official guide that's released by PMI, against which this entire training will happen, and even your preparation will happen against this Pmbok, Project Management Body of Knowledge. So this is an official book that will be taught to you as part of this training. It's an official guide, is a textbook, right? Now, why PMP is required? PMP is required. What are the benefits? Normally, it's a normal question we always put, right? What is in for me? What is in for me? Why should I do PMP? Without benefits, normally we don't do anything. We don't do any activity. So, what are the benefits PMP can impart to your career roadmap? If you undergo this PMP training and if you get certified, it helps you to become a better project manager, because you will be knowing the best practices on how to manage the project, how to manage the project successfully. And these best practices are collated from numerous myriad project managers across the globe. Because best practices, they are not confined to one organization. Best practices can be followed in any organization. Best practices can be followed in Microsoft. So certain best practices can be followed in IBM. Certain best practices can be followed in Oracle. In different companies, they may be following the best practices. So what PMI has done is they collated all these best practices. They collated all these best practices and they published this PMP course, right? And if you know the best practices, what? If you know the best practices, it helps in increasing the success rate of your projects as you become more organized. You know how to plan meticulously. You know how to ensure that the execution is going as per the plan or not. You will know how to monitor whether the execution is going as per the plan, if not, how to control the situation. So obviously, when you are organized, the success rate of your projects will increase. 21% is the success rate of the projects across the globe, across various domains in 2013. 2014 figures are yet to arrive because we are early 2015. So what is the success rate in 2014? We are yet to arrive on those figures. So if 21% of the projects are successful across the globe, it means 79% of the projects are failures, which is a shame. Why? They don't follow the best practices. Even without following best practices also, you can do the projects. No one going to stop you. But if you follow the best practices, the success rate of your projects will increase. And if you follow the best practices, it helps in minimizing the resource utilization. Maybe with lesser resources, you can run your projects. When I say lesser resources, need not be human resources. It can be anything: your raw material, your equipment, your tools, your softwares, your licenses, right? So when lesser resources are utilized, obviously it helps in making the project cost effective, isn't it? So instead of 10 people, if you are using only 6 resources to do a project, there's a 40% cost effectiveness. Obviously, human resources, that translate into money in IT especially. And it changes how others look at your abilities. People will start respecting you the moment you start using the terminology and the lingo. Your managers will respect you, your peers will respect you, your reportees will respect you. People will come to you for help, and you'll be proud to lend your shoulder about the best practices in project management. And the materialistic benefits, if you see, it helps to keep your job, to get promoted, or to get a new job. Normally, these are the benefits we really look at, right? PMP certified, normally organizations prefer for PMP certified guys, right? So it helps in your career roadmap as well, and hike in your current salary. So these are the various intrinsic and extrinsic benefits PMP can impart to your career. So these are very basics. And the exam eligibility requirement. Under two categories, you can take the exam. One, you being a graduate. I hope everyone is a graduate here. If not, even diploma holders also can pursue this PMP certification, like your ITI diploma, polytechnic diploma, who are not graduates actually. So this is one prerequisite. Out of three prerequisites, if you have to take the examination, training anyone can take. Training anyone can take. No one can stop you in knowledge acquisition. Anyone can take the training. But if you want to get certified and take the examination, three prerequisites. One is the academic qualification, what you have to possess. And second, 35 hours of training is mandatory. We call it as contact hours. Contact hours. So through authorized training center like ExcelR or any training center through you have come back, right? Through authorized training center, you have to undergo this training 35 hours, right? Contact hours we call it. So this is mandatory, and 3 years of experience in projects is required within the last 8 years. In a span of 8 years, you may have some intermittent gaps, but still 36 months, that is 3 years of experience, is mandatory. If you are a diploma holder, you need to possess more years of experience, that is 5 years. 5 years experience is required if you are a diploma holder, right? I'm quickly going through because as part of demo we are completed. If someone, again I'm reiterating, if someone has any doubts, feel free to stop me. And the examination pattern, 4 hours duration. You'll be taking in a PMI prometric examination center. It's a 4 hours duration, and you have 200 questions. Out of this 200, 25 are considered as pre-test questions or dummy questions. But we never know which of these 25 are pre-test or dummy questions. They're embedded in 200. You have to think all 200 you have to answer in the examination. However, only 175 are scored for the examination result. And a grading system is followed. They don't disclose the percentage, gentlemen, remember? They give only the grades. Whether you pass or fail, whatever, they'll disclose the grades, saying whether you are below proficient or moderately proficient overall. That's the only result that is disclosed. One is whether you are pass or fail, and what is your grade. That's it. And there is no negative marking. There's no negative marking. So even if you are unsure, you can still take a shot, because you're not going to lose any mark even if your choice is incorrect. So there is no negative marking. And the entire syllabus is divided into 5 groups. We call them as 5 process groups. Remember, the entire syllabus is divided into 47 processes, and these 47 processes, they belong to any one of these processes, like a process group, like initiating, planning, executing, monitoring and controlling, and closing. It means in a project, you will be doing some management activities as part of project initiation. So even you don't start the plan, so the just project kick starts, the project initiates. During that stage, you will be doing some management activities. So you will be getting questions as part of this initiating stage. How many questions you get? 13% is a percentage of the questions. 13% of 200 is 26 questions. So initiating, you will get 26 questions. Planning, 24%, 48 questions. So once the project is initiated, you do a thorough planning, right, which is very, very important. So you have to develop a detailed plan on how are you going to manage this project, right? So pertaining to planning, you get 24% of the questions, that is equivalent to 48 questions you will get. And then the executing. So the most important aspect is you have to execute the plan. So as part of project executing, you will get 30% of the questions. That speaks about the significance of execution. Why execution is very important? The problem lies here. It's a human attitude. We make great plans, but once it comes to execution, we never do that. We plan that in 2 months we have to finish PMP certification. In 1.5 months, I have to finish PMP certification. You prepare a great timetable, right? Saying by Monday I have to finish the first chapter, by Wednesday I have to finish the second chapter, by Friday, third chapter. You make great plans, but we never kickstart the preparation. Or even if you start, the preparation doesn't go as per the plan, and it keeps on procrastinating. The postponement keeps on happening. Execution, that's where most of the times we fail. Even if you want to shed your weight, or if you want to get some fitness, we make great plans. Right? We have to get up early morning. Make a great plans till evening on how to control the diet, everything. But the problem is we never execute it. So when the execution fails, obviously the project objectives are not met and the project will fail. So executing, you get 30%, 60 questions, majority you get from execution. And then monitoring and controlling. As a project manager or as a senior project management team member, you have to monitor to check whether your executing is going as per the planning or not. That is one of your primary jobs, isn't it? So if the executing is not going as per the plan, you have to control the situation. Controlling is very, very important. So your execution says by this day you have to complete 40% of the work. Sorry, your planning says by this day you have to complete 40% of the work. But whereas your execution is only 30%. So there is a delta of 10% where the execution didn't happen. So how do you control it? How do you pull up your socks and you see that the project comes back on track? How do you make up the schedule delays? How do you control the budget delays? How do you control the scope creep? Sometimes the scope will be added indiscriminately. Customer will give 100 requirements. Next day he will make it 120 requirements. Next day 150 requirements. So without any control, the scope changes will be made. How do you control such situations? So you do the monitoring and controlling, and pertaining to monitoring and controlling, you'll get 25% of the questions. That is 50 questions you get from monitoring and controlling. And finally, closing. Closing. Even as part of project closing, you have to do some management activities. Like you have to release your resources. Whoever are left over, you have to release those resources. You have to claim, you have to settle all the claims, any payments that are due to the vendors. You have to archive all the documentation and the artifacts that were developed as part of this project. You have to document the lessons learned as part of this project. You might be learning many lessons that this is not the way how this should be done. And again, if any other opportunity is given, you will work out differently. So the closing. So even during closing also, you have to do certain activities. Normally in real-time projects, how it will happen? Customer will accept the deliverable. For example, customer asks to build a website. That is the project. You'll build a website and customer is happy. He says he's happy with the website and he accepts the deliverable called the final deliverable called the website. So you start celebrating. We assume that the project is closed as the customer has formally accepted the deliverable. But but there may be many other activities which you have to do as part of closing. Those best practices will be dealt as part of this closing process flow. and you will get 8% of the questions from closing. That is 16 questions. 16 questions. Remember, these five are called process groups. Why? I told 47 processes are grouped under any of these. I told there are 47 processes. The throughout syllabus we have 47 processes. These 47 processes, either they belong to initiating or planning, or executing, or monitoring and controlling, or closing. So these processes are grouped together, which are related to initiating, which are related to planning, which are related to executing, which are related to monitoring and controlling, and which are related to closing. So these are called process groups. So first important thing, we are entering process groups. There are five process groups. What are those five? Initiating, planning, executing, monitoring and controlling, and closing. I'm giving you 30 seconds time. Try to remember this. See, remember 98% of the concepts we go by logic, but 2% of the concepts you have to by heart, like names. There's no other go, like you have to remember the names, right? So I told you that this training will give you a lot of knowledge. There will be a great takeaway, I can assure you that. And apart from that, I will take this training in the examination perspective also. At the end of the day, you have to gain knowledge and you have to gain the certification as well. So I will tell you to remember to by heart certain things, you have to do that. I'll give you some homework, you have to religiously do that, right? And I'll tell you how to prepare at different stages, and you have to meticulously follow that. If you follow my instructions, you take my word, you will be PMP certified very shortly. And if you don't study on a regular basis, on a day-to-day basis, it will be very difficult for you to get certified on PMP, right? Because so many concepts, it becomes very difficult, right? So I hope you are all with me in remembering, or in following my instructions.
Yeah.
Wonderful. So there are five process groups. I'm giving you 30 seconds time. I want everyone to remember the names of these five process groups. I keep on asking in between, like what are the process groups? I keep on asking you the questions. I want you to come up with the answers by remembering and by regular study. I'm giving you 30 seconds time. Wonderful. We'll start. So now we'll start with the first chapter, project management framework. In project management framework, we study about the basics of project management. We don't deep dive into any of the advanced concepts, because you should be familiar with the basics in order to understand the advanced concepts. And you'll get quite a number of questions from this project management framework, right, in the examination. So you should be familiar with these basic concepts of project management. Remember, there are 11 chapters all put together. The first one is the project management framework, and the rest of the 10 chapters I will tell you at the end of the session about those 10 chapters briefly. Now, let us start with the project management framework. As I told you, we'll start with the basics. The very basic is definition of a project. What is a project? This definition is important for the examination. You'll get at least one to two questions in the examination from this definition. Based on the context of this situation, you have to answer that. So make a note of it whenever I say it's important. Somewhere you collate all these important topics somewhere, so that it helps in preparation for the examination. So what is a project? A project is a temporary endeavor. The word temporary is important here. This is one of the characteristics of the project. What do you mean by endeavor? Attempt, doing some attempt. And this attempt is temporary in nature. What do you mean by temporary? A temporary is something which has a start date and end date. Temporary means it should have a start date and end date. I'm putting in the chat. It should have a start date and end date. A project should always have a start date and end date. Normally, many projects, they don't have end date. In real time, I'm talking, which is technically wrong. Especially government projects, if you see the projects which are run by government, they have a start date, but we never know when.
But we never know when. But we never know when. But we never know when.
Okay, so a project is something which has a start date and end date, right? And why do you undertake a project? So a project is a temporary endeavor undertaken. Why do you undertake a project? To create. We do a project in order to create a unique product, service, or result. So three outcomes are possible by doing a project. The first outcome is product. For example, you are a project manager for Apple Mobile. You are developing a new model of Apple Mobile. So you will take it up as a project. It will have a start date and end date, and the outcome is product. New mobile, new model, S7 or S8 or whatever. It's a product here. By doing this project, you are giving a product, or you are doing a research and development for diabetes. You are developing a new molecule. You took it up as this research project, a new medicine for diabetes. Here you have a product. Or you are developing a new flavor for Coca-Cola, orange flavor, or lemon flavor of Coca-Cola, Coke. So it's a product here. And sometimes the outcome can be a result. We'll see service last. The outcome can be a result. We do projects in order to achieve some result. For example, literacy projects. We want to achieve 100% literacy in a particular state or in a particular county or in a particular country. It's a result. Why are you doing this literacy project? To attain a result called 100% literacy. Or you want to eradicate polio from your country. You do this polio drops or polio vaccine project. It is for a result to see a polio free India or a polio free country. So if you take this polio drops project, this polio vaccine project, it has been running for the last 20 years or so, right? The outcome here is the result. It's not on, it need not be product every time. And sometimes you will create a service by doing a project. Remember, providing service is not a project. It's very important. Providing service is not a project. The capability to provide a service, that capability, you take it up as a project. For example, you want to provide some services to your customers. You want to set up a call center. So the setting up of the entire call center can be taken up as a project. You are creating a service there. Or you want to provide ATM services for a bank. Assume that there's a bank, they don't have ATM services that they are providing to the customers. So you take it up as a project, providing that entire ATM service, you take it up as a project, right? Like designing the entire ATM system, designing the entire network for this ATM system, designing the infrastructure, and subsequently building that infrastructure, building the entire ATM service, and that entire thing you will take it up as a project. So here you are creating a service, remember, and providing service from there is not a project. Is not a project. It falls under operations. For example, you are manufacturing the new flavor of Coca-Cola, orange flavor. That you will take it up as a project because there the product is unique in nature. Now let us come to this third one, unique. Very, very, very important. The outcome of a project is always unique in nature. You don't get, or if you are doing a recurring activity, or if you are getting a recurring result, then it is not a project. The same result should not come. It should be unique in some way. So when you are manufacturing this new formula of Coca-Cola orange flavor, it's a first of its kind. Till now, Coke that doesn't have the orange flavor. By doing this project, you have created this unique product, unique formula. But from there, it goes into manufacturing, and millions of Coke bottles will be manufactured, orange flavored bottles will be manufactured. That becomes the manufacturing or operations. That is not a project. That's typically operations. The typically operations. So operations are different, projects are different. Manufacturing is different, projects are different. In operations or manufacturing, you get a recurring or repeat product or outcome always. Whereas in a project, it's always unique. So now let us see again what are the three characteristics of a project. I'm putting in the chat, have a look at it. The first characteristic says a project is always temporary in nature. What do you mean by temporary in nature? It has a start date and end date. The, out, the outcome of a project that is being created is always unique in nature. Is always unique in nature. You cannot have the same result always. In some or the other way, it should be unique. And the creation will happen pertaining to a product or service or result. So these are the three characteristics of a project, which is temporary in nature, start date and end date, and outcome is always unique, and the outcome can be a product, service, or result. So this is the definition of a project. And you may get different questions articulated in different way in the examination. Like they throw you a situation where the outcome is recurring in nature, and they may ask you what is wrong with this. So you have to choose the choice which says the outcome of a project is always unique in nature. So this is not a project that performing operations. So something of that sort you will get. So as I told you, you'll get at least one or two questions in the examination pertaining to this definition. What is a project? Is it clear? You can put it in the chat. Need not unmute for this. You can put in the chat. Is it clear? Right, gentlemen. And now let us see. And now let us see the difference between a program and portfolio. You hear these words in and out every day, right? Program manager or program management, portfolio. You'll be hearing these words. Now let us see the definitions of it, right? In fact, after project management, we have next levels in PMI, program management, PGMP. I am a PGMP certified. And the next level to program management, you have portfolio management. So now let us see what is a program. So Devraj asked, Demiac cycle, can it be part of a project? Why not? It can be taken up as a project, right? The in Six Sigma, right? You will be doing the define, measure, analyze. All these things can be taken up as a project. The entire thing, Six Sigma project, the implementation itself, or refining the Six Sigma, Demiac or Demdev, whatever, DMA, DV, anything can be taken up as a project. Anything can be taken up as a project as part of as long as it suffices these three things. It should have a start date and end date. Outcome should be unique. Either it should produce a product, result, or service. Even if you are conducting an event of marriage of your sister, you can take it up as a project. The entire event management of your sister's marriage can be taken up as a project. There's nothing wrong in that. So now let us see program management. What do you mean by program? Group of related projects is called a program. 2 3 projects together is called a program, but we have a catch here. They should be related. There should be some relation between or among these projects. Then it can be called as a program. If they are not related at all, then it cannot be called as a program. There should be some interdependencies between these projects or among these projects. The information should flow from one project to another project. These things should happen among the projects. Then it's called a program. So, Forget about client or customer here, Vivek. These projects, obviously it should be under same customer only. Obviously it should be under same customer if you are doing for external customers, right? But these projects should be related. I will tell you. Let me complete. You will get more idea on what is a program. A program is a group of related projects that should be managed in a coordinated way, right? For example, we are all working on a satellite program. We are launching a satellite in ISRO, Sriharikota, Indian Space Research Organization. We are doing a project. Let us say that. So under this, let us say we are doing multiple projects. Anil is looking into satellite designing project. He is designing the satellite. That entire designing has been taken up as a project. Devraj is a project manager for building the satellite. So once the design is done on paper by Anil, that has to be built. So that is second project, construction of the satellite. And the third one is launching the satellite. So to launch the satellite, the entire launching activity is taken up as a project. So these are three projects. Is there any relation between the three? Are there any interdependencies between the three? Yes. The information flow from design project to build project or construction project, from construction to launch project. These are all interdependent. If I ask you not to talk to each other and you have to work on in an isolated manner, what will be the status of this project? The status of this project of this program will be a big failure. All the projects will fail because there are dependencies. So all these three projects can be taken up as a single program because you cannot manage them individually. There are interdependencies among these entities. So this entire thing is taken up as a program. For example, let us say Malleshwar is doing a website construction or a software construction project. So he has been appointed as a project manager for constructing a software. At the same time, he has been asked to manage a swimming pool construction in the same organization. The same organization, they're constructing swimming pool for their employees. So since Maleshwar is a civil engineer by virtue of his academic qualification, has been asked to look into that swimming pool project also. Is there any relationship between the software development project and swimming pool construction project which are done by Maleshwar? Nothing as such. Nothing as such. They can be managed separately. There are no dependencies. There is no information flow among these. There is no give and take among these entities. So that cannot be called as a program. Program means the projects which should be managed in a coordinated manner together. That's called a program. And managing these programs is called program management. And typically it is done by program manager in organizations. So all related, the word related is the key here. It has been highlighted if you see, right? So these related projects can be called as a single program. So this is about program management. And now let us see what is portfolio management. What is portfolio? Collection of programs actually. Collection of programs. Multiple programs will fall under portfolio. Or it can be collection of bigger projects. And these programs or portfolios may not be related or interdependent. So unrelated projects or programs, unrelated programs can be called as a portfolio. Normally, you do this portfolio management in order to achieve the strategic objectives of the organization. Every organization will have a vision, right? For example, let us say the Tata company in India, they want to become number one in Asia, the largest company or number one company in Asia. For that, they may start multiple projects, multiple programs in various domains. Like they started many projects in oil and gas extraction, like Reliance Industries. Or they started many projects in power. They started many projects in road infrastructure development. They started many projects under airport development. So Each one will be a portfolio. Under power, they may be doing multiple programs. Under each program, there may be multiple projects. So all these projects constitute as a program, and all these programs will constitute as a portfolio. So the entire portfolio of oil and gas, the entire portfolio of power will be managed by two portfolio managers. It can be different portfolio managers or the same portfolio manager, right? So portfolio is a much bigger entity than program, right? So it's a collection of programs, or if the projects are big, if they're not related, you can put under one portfolio, right? And you do these portfolios, you manage these portfolios in order to meet the strategic business objectives, the vision and mission of the organizations, right? This is about portfolio. So collection of related projects is called, anyone can answer this? Collection of related projects is called what? You can put it. You can put in the chat, or yeah, program. Wonderful. Collection of programs is called what? Or unrelated projects is called portfolio. Very good. Is called portfolio. What is the objective of this portfolio management? Why should we maintain the portfolio? To achieve what? To achieve the strategic business objectives or visions, strategic business as part of the organization strategy. In order to achieve the strategic business objectives, we do the portfolio management. Now let us see what is project management. So Devraj says portfolio seems to be like ministries of government where ministers manage various pillars of country. Yeah, you can relate to that as well. Why not? Good. It's a good correlation. Yeah. So portfolio ministers, no home, and we have this agriculture, different portfolios you have, right? So what is project management? What is project management? Simple answer. Manage their projects. That's it. Manage your projects. Managing the projects is called project management. That's what we are going to learn here. How to manage the project. We are not going to tell you how to do the technical work of the project, how to manage the project, the management aspect of it we are going to discuss. How do you manage the project? We manage the project by applying knowledge, skills, tools, and techniques to project activities. As the project goes on, you will manage this project to the success by applying your knowledge. You have to apply your knowledge. You have to apply your skills. You have to use the tools, and you have to use certain techniques. So it's the application of knowledge, skills, tools, and techniques to project activities. That's how you manage the projects. That's called project management, right? So see how a beautiful pictorial representation they are given. If you see in the circus, if you see this image, the person is managing the lions. So he's managing. It's all about the management. Now let us see one of the important topics for the examination as well as the real-time world. Project constraints. Project constraints. So what are project constraints? So what do you mean by constraint? First let us try to understand that. What do you mean by a constraint? A constraint is typically a constraint is typically limiting factor. Anything that limits the progress of your project, progress of your project is called constraint, right? Sometimes budget will Devraj says constraints are like various factors which governs project. No, it's not governs, which limits, which hinders the progress of your project. Anything which hinders the progress of your project is called a constraint. So, for example, as I told before, like you are planning to go to your office and your daughter is stopping you or your son is stopping you from going to office. He asks you to stay indoors and you reach late to your office. So your manager will ask, Devraj, why are you late? My daughter is a constraint. My kid is a constraint. It's a hindrance towards me reaching to the office. So anything which hinders the progress of your project is called a project constraint. You should understand, you should identify what are the real constraints in the project, right? There are 6 constraints as prescribed by PMI. Scope is a constraint, quality is a constraint, schedule is a constraint, budget is a constraint, resources are constraints, risk is a constraint. Risk is a constraint. Now let us try to understand each thing. Scope is a constraint. Before going to scope quality, let us see schedule. You will understand better, then you will understand the constraints better. Schedule is a constraint. How schedule is a constraint? You are not given sufficient timelines. You are not given sufficient schedule. In 1 month, you have been asked to do a project where actually it should take 6 months or 2 months. So you will tell your friends, boss, they are not given me sufficient time. So schedule is a constraint. Sometimes budget is a constraint. You are not given sufficient budgets to do the project. Normally government projects always do happen. No? You don't have sufficient budgets. So budget is a constraint. You are not given sufficient money in order to do the budget. Sometimes resources are constraints. You don't get the resources. It can be human resources or it can be equipment, it can be tools, anything. So resources are constraints sometimes. Sometimes scope can be a constraint. What do you mean by scope? Let us try to understand scope, then you will understand how scope is a constraint. Scope is the work what you are going to do in the project. Typically the work. If you are constructing a road, the scope is different. If you are constructing a software, the scope differs now. If you are into research and development of a new medicine, the scope differs. So typically the scope, the work what you are going to supposed to do on the project, sometimes it becomes a constraint. How? Customer doesn't give their requirements, doesn't disclose their requirements properly. Then it is a constraint. For example, you wanted to develop a website. You had an agreement with the customer. He has not given his requirements completely. Out of 100 requirements, he gave only 40. After that, customer says, I'm busy. We'll see later. You do on your own. Let us see later. Yeah. So scope is a constraint. You don't know what to do. You engaged me as a project manager for your house construction and you told, Ram, I want a duplex house. A 2-storied building. That's all. What are the other requirements? Can you please tell? You are not disclosing that. You are not finding time. Scope is a constraint. Or sometimes it's the first of its kind. You have never dealt with such a work before. It's a state of the art technology. You have been asked to do a project on Hadoop. Hadoop is a budding technology of late in IT. So here scope is a constraint. Customer is not disclosing, you don't know the scope completely. Or scope you are dealing for the first time, it's a first of its kind. Right? Scope is a constraint. Scope is a constraint. So Devraj says if client do not disclose the requirements, then how can we check the scope? Will be a vague idea on project we will be working on. That's what I'm saying. So it's a constraint. Now it's stopping your project or not? Is it not hindering your project? Is it not a limiting factor for your project? So here scope is a constraint. Scope is a constraint. Sometimes quality is a constraint. The quality expectations of the customer is a big constraint. For example, you are developing a robo software which will conduct open heart surgery. A robo like Rajnikant, which is conducting open heart surgery. What should be the quality of this robo or of this project? Very high. If the quality is not good, there's a huge threat on the outcome of this project. So quality expectations, boss, they are giving me money. Money is not a constraint. They're giving me sufficient time. They gave me all the resources I've asked for. They told me everything what I want, the scope, everything. But the quality expectation is too high. It is not a website, right? Even if the website is down for 1 or 2 hours, or if an application is down for a couple of hours, chalta hai. No, it will not happen that way. So Vimal says depends on market and people and time. Yeah, exactly. So quality is a constraint, and risk is a constraint. Too risky a project, too many risks, lot of uncertainties. Like you are launching a satellite from Sriharikota ISRO. It's a very risky project. Lot of uncertainties. Till the last 11th hour, you never know it will fly or not. Right? So too many risks in the project is also a constraint. Right? So these are called the project constraints. So project constraints are what? Scope, quality, schedule, budget, resources, and risks. I'm giving you 30 seconds time. Now it will take 1 minute. I want everyone to remember the project constraints. We have not completed this topic. We are going to see in this six, three are very important. We are going to cover that subsequently. So I'm giving you 30 seconds to 1 minute time. Remember this. According to PMI, there are four types of organizations by virtue of authority of project manager. Remember here, whether project manager is active, whether the project manager is powerful, or project manager is there for the heck of it, based on the project manager's authority, they divided into four. The first one is functional organization. The second one is matrix organization. The third one is projectized organization. The fourth one is composite organization. So what is a functional organization? The entire organization is divided as departments. Each department will have a functional head. Like HR department, you have HR vice president or general manager. Finance department, function means department, remember. Function means a team or department, generally we call it as function. You heard any time called HR function? Yeah, HR department. So it is divided into departments. Each department will have a functional head. So now let me show you that functional organization. If you have a CEO who is heading, you have a CEO who is heading the organization. Under CEO, you have a functional manager, HR head, engineering head, marketing head, sales head, you will have it. There may be some projects happening in each department. You don't have dedicated staff or project manager to manage these projects. So the staff within the department, they involve in this project. Let us say HR department, they started a project to reduce the attrition rate of the employees. Employees are resigning left, right, and center. So they started a project to motivate the employees and to ensure the employee retention. They started some motivation project. In that project, the HR people, few people of the HR will involve, and there may not be any dedicated project manager. Remember. So what will happen? They will report. They will report to the functional manager itself, HR head, vice president, on the progress of this project, or general manager of head of HR. They will be reporting them. Here you don't have project manager at all. The functional manager may play a role of project manager temporarily, and the staff, once they are done with this project, they come to their routine mundane work. Right? Once I am done, I will go into recruitment again. Right? Such organization is called functional organization. So if you see the grade boxes, They are engaging in those respective projects. Let us take the second one is the sales department. So the sales department, assume that they started some project, sales project. The sales project to increase the sales, or they want to launch some product. So the sales staff may involve in that project, and once it is done, they may come down to their routine work. Such a setup is called functional organization. Now let us see projectized organization. Matrix, I will come back again. The entire organization is divided into projects. Here, you don't have much of the departments. Here, project manager is very powerful. That all the projects are headed by project managers, and these project managers they report into the CEO. I heard Accenture is a projectized organization, and in that project itself, you have some HR people, you have some engineering people in the same project. You may have some finance people, and all these guys they report into project manager. The project is so big, right? You have dedicated HR finance guys, and they will be reporting into the project manager. Such an organization is called projectized organization. In IT, it is slightly there. In construction, normally you have projectized organization. So if you see the diagram, you will have a better understanding of these projectized organizations. So the entire organization is divided into projects. The CEO will be there on the top, and the project managers will be reporting into the chief executive. And you have staffs who are working in this project, staff working in this project from various departments, and they will be all reporting into the project manager. They will be all reporting into the project manager. Such an organization is called projectized organization. Here we have a disadvantage. Can anyone tell what is the disadvantage with the projectized organization? Very good. So when the project is finished, they don't have the team members, they don't have any homeless. The team members are homeless actually. Team members are homeless if the project is done. Whereas if you see functional organization, even once the project is done, they go back to the regular work. So the HR people, if they involve in any project to increase the retainage of the employees, once the project is done, they will go back and report to the general manager, and they will be doing their routine activities. In projectized organization, you will be moving on bench or homeless, whatever you say. When the project is done, till the time you get inducted into the new project, right? And now let us see matrix. What do you mean by matrix? Mix of both. Mix of two things is called matrix generally, right? So you have a flavor of both projectized organization and functional organization. Such entity is called a matrix. Again, in matrix, we have three different types: weak matrix, balanced matrix, and strong matrix. Here, matrix means you have both two bosses. Yes, as Karija is saying, two bosses. Matrix means both are there. So we have a functional manager who is heading, and we have a project manager. So typically, you have two bosses: functional manager and project manager. Out of these, sometimes one will be weak, one will be strong. Sometimes both will be equal. Based on the authority of the functional manager and project manager, they divided into three. Weak matrix. Here, one is weak. Who is that? Project manager is weak. Project manager is weak. Balanced matrix. Both the project manager and functional manager both are equally strong. When I say weak, it's not physical decision making. Should I take any human resources? Those decisions, budget allocations, fund releasing. These authorities I'm talking about. In balanced matrix, both have equal powers. In strong matrix, obviously strong means project manager is strong here. However, both are present. So in matrix, again you have three: weak matrix, balanced matrix, and strong matrix. Gentlemen, this is very, very important topic. I need your attention and your understanding to the whole. What is weak matrix? I told project manager is weak here and functional manager is strong. Again in weak, we have two levels. One first level is project expeditor. I'm putting in the chat. The second level is project coordinator, project expeditor, and weak. Again, in weak, again you have two levels. One is very weak, other is weak. Right? Project expeditor is very weak. There is a mere a project coordinator, sorry, a mere expeditor, where he send the communication, he will send weekly report to customers, right? He will do all the clerical jobs, just clerical jobs. He will do the bookings for all the team members when they are traveling, right? If they are traveling overseas, so he doesn't have any decision making. A purely communication role. Such role is called expeditor. Coordinator is better than the two. He is also weak, but at least he can take small decision. Small decision making will be there. Small levels of decision making will be there. Such is called project coordinator. Such a person is called project coordinator. Like both are weak husbands, both are henpecked husbands, but one is very weak husband. You can call him as expeditor. One is a weak husband. So one doesn't have even authority what to cook on the day. Both are cooking, both are weak husbands. So what do you want me to cook today? Hey, you cook dal, paneer butter masala today, the wife says. He's expeditor. At least those small decisions, what to cook on a particular day, will be taken by a project coordinators. They have some sort of decision making, right? Clear, gentlemen, about matrix?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. So I know we are all expeditors or coordinators in house, yeah. Right? So that is weak matrix. So if you see this diagram, you will understand better. Functional organization, and then the matrix, and then the projectized. In matrix, under matrix again you have weak matrix, balanced matrix, and strong matrix. Project manager's authority in functional there is none. From there to low, low to moderate, moderate to high, high to almost total. Resource availability, he will be given resources. Who manages the project budget? Here functional, functional. Here it will be mixed. Here it will be project manager. It will be project manager. Project manager's role part time, part time. From here it will be full time, right? The project management administrative staff, the staff that are provided, some it will be part time in these cases normally. And as you go from left to right towards projectized, the project manager will become omnipotent and omnipresent. He becomes very, very strong as the organization moves towards projectized style. Right? So, and the last one is composite. There's nothing special. It is a combination of all three. So in a big organization, in some places you have functional setup, in some you have matrix setup, in some places you have projectized. Composite, it's a combination of all the three types of organizations like functional, matrix, and projectized, right? That's called composite organization, right? So now, gentlemen, I want answers from you. What are the four types of org structures you have as per PMI? You can unmute and you can say quickly if you want.
Functional organization,
Yes, Vivek.
projectized organization,
Projectized, wonderful.
matrix organization,
Matrix organization, composite organization. Under matrix, what are the three types you have?
We have three types, that is weak matrix, balanced, and strong matrix.
Strong matrix, wonderful. Under weak matrix, what are the two types of
So
levels you have?
there are two categories.
Mm.
One is a project expeditor and one is a project coordinator, wherein the project expeditor does clerical works and does not have any power on decision making.
Wonderful.
Whereas the project coordinator probably has some influence on decision.
Influence on decision. Wonderful. So, which structure will have two bosses? Anyone? Two bosses will be seen in which structure? Is it functional, projectized, or matrix? Two bosses, when do you have? Matrix. Matrix, you
Yeah.
know, yeah, I told you have functional managers and project managers. So team members normally they'll have two bosses. They'll be reporting to the project manager and they will be reporting into the functional manager. Especially, yeah, from balanced it may start. From balanced it may start. To be more precise, from balanced matrix it may start. Okay, wonderful, wonderful. And in which structure? In which structure you have the team members become homeless
In project-based organization.
in projectized organization. Wonderful. So having known these concepts, you'll get at least 2 to 3 marks in the examination. So 2 to 3 marks out of 200 is already in your kitty. Start counting your marks. Yep. And now let us try to understand the OPA, organization processes. I promised you, remember I told when we are discussing about PMO,
Yes.
I told that I will discuss about developing and managing the OPA, organization processes. Now we are going to do that. So organizational process assets. What is the asset for any process? What is the asset of a process? Nothing but documentation. In layman language, if we have to say OPA is nothing but documentation. Documentation. So normally for a process, the artifacts and documentation they play a vital role. They play a vital role, right? So what are those? Like company standards and policies, all the documentation related to standard policies, quality policies, templates. Every organization we have the templates. No? These templates will be used by different people, like risk register, like project charter. You'll have all the ready-made templates. You take the templates and you start populating the data into it, right? Various guidelines, proposal evaluation criteria. How do you evaluate a proposal submitted by various vendors? They'll have a criteria established. Even for you, various vendors should have submitted for PMP training. We give for 9,000, we give for 5,000, we give for 6,000. Some people may say we give for 10,000, 11,000, but some may say we give pass warranty. Some may say we give quality trainer. So you'll evaluate each proposal that is given to you by various vendors. So in organizations, normally they establish the proposal evaluation criteria. How do you, if different criteria, different proposals are given by different vendors, how do you evaluate the proposals? That they will establish the criteria. How do you measure the performance? Performance measurement criteria, communication guidelines. So when the communication should happen, how the communication should happen at an organization level, they will have the things defined. You should send a weekly report to the customer. You should send through mail, or you should upload in a SharePoint in a central repository. So they have their guidelines. Project closure guidelines. When do you close a project? And what methodology you follow when you are closing the project? Financial control procedures. Issue, how do you manage the issues? How do you manage the defects? How do you control the changes, the change control? How do you manage the risks? All these things will be documented, which acts as a ready reckoner for you when you are managing the projects. So all these artifacts, all this documentation, like work authorization. Can anyone tell what is work authorization? Any idea? Heard any time? Or any guesses? Don't worry, even if you are incorrect. Okay, I want people should think. I want that instigation should happen in the people. Even if you are incorrect, there's nothing crime.
Maybe the permission given for a person to do a particular task, something like a special process kind of a thing.
Wonderful.
where only if a person is authorized to do soldering, then only he can be allowed to do soldering.
Yeah, it's not only he can, when he should start soldering, even that should be there. So
Oh,
work
I see.
authorization is that you are authorizing a particular person to do a work at a particular time when you should start the work, right? That work authorization will be established in organizations when they are doing the projects. For example, you are constructing a house. You are just constructing the walls. You have completed the foundation. You just constructed the walls, and the painter came to paint the walls. Sir, should I start painting? What you will say? I've gone mad or what? I've not completed even the construction of the wall. I have to put the plastering, and then you should start the painting. I will tell you when you should start your work. Okay, don't come and don't nag me every day. No, uh, don't disturb me. So those work authorizations are when the people are authorized to start their work, to kickstart their work. Normally in organizations they establish. It's not, Vimal, it's not like a work permit. You can say it's a work permit as well. When are you permitted to start your work? If you take that way, yes, that is right. Work permit. And even the knowledge base will fall under OPA. All your documentation, knowledge base, like no project files, historical information. These are very important. Historical information, and lessons learned. These are very, very important, because these lessons learned documents will be helpful for the future generation in order to not to repeat the same mistakes. It can be useful to you or even the future generations. And even the historical files, project files, information, your configuration management databases, financial databases, so all related to document lessons learned, artifacts, templates, all fall under OPA, organization process assets. I want everyone to understand this, what is this OPA, the asset related to a process, because at least we'll be using 60 to 70 times in the next 15 days as part of the training. 60 to 70 times we are going to use. So every time I'm not going to repeat. I just say OPA, organization process assets, right? So this is the only one time I'll be telling you. Next time onwards, I just refer the word OPA, and you have to recollect what is OPA. So now, can anyone contribute? What do you mean by OPA?
Databases, histories, issue, lesson learned, financial databases.
Yes, all the lessons learned documentation, all the historical files, which are assets for any organization related to the process, they are called organization process assets. And now let us see. Now let us see. Yeah, there are, you're correct. It's like a repository. And now let us see one more word similar to OPA. At least even we use this the same like for 60 to 70 times all throughout the training. This is enterprise environmental factors, EEF. It's popularly known as EEF. EEF. Enterprise environmental factors. What do you mean by EEF? Enterprise environmental factors. Enterprise environmental factors are like any factor outside your project, external to your project, which can influence your project, is called enterprise environmental factors. Remember, it's not internal. Any external factor, it's going to affect your project. It's called EEF, enterprise environmental factors. Outside your project, that can be within your organization or outside organization. For example, you are working in Microsoft. You are a project manager for one of the projects. So, outside your project, within Microsoft, it can impact your project. Suddenly, assume that Microsoft is in financial problems or bankrupted. I forbid, it shouldn't happen. I forbid. Okay, assume example. Will it not impact your project? Yes, Microsoft's financial position, that is external to your project. It has nothing to do internal to your project. Or outside Microsoft also, like government decisions. The government asked to stop all IT projects. It's a government decision. Is it not going to impact your project? Yes. So
Force
Force
majeure.
majeure.
force majeure, yes, of course. Force majeure by natural calamities, catastrophes, that's EF only. Act of God, yeah.
Mm,
The God has done that. We can't do anything. There's an earthquake. It's an external factor
Yeah.
that will impact you.
Government
Government
orders.
orders.
Yes. So company culture.
Yeah,
That is
Yeah.
example is
Example is
deferring the
deferring the
DBTL scheme in
DBTL scheme
Aadhaar
in
project
Aadhaar
in
project
March
in March
pre-election.
pre-election.
exactly, exactly. That's a good example. So company culture, it will have impact on your project. The company culture, very, very bureaucratic. It will have impact on your project. Any approval, you will ask, buy me a desktop for my team. They will buy after 1 year. Will it not impact your project? Yes. Or your company doesn't allow females to work in the night shift. That can have impact on your project, your 24 by 7 project. Government standards, political climate. If you have been asked to do a project in Afghanistan where there's a lot of political instability, yeah, or Iraq, will it not have impact on your project? Yes. Infrastructure, existing infrastructure in the organization, that will have impact on your project. They don't even have mouse also. Keyboards are also not good, and you have been asked to do a big project. No infrastructure, it will have impact on your project. Existing human resources, bench strength, you don't have skilled people on the bench, right? It will have impact on your project. HR policies, that is personal administration. It's a hire and fire company. Hire them, the moment the work is done, don't make them sit on the bench, fire them. Then people won't come and join your company over a period of time. That will have impact on your project. The work authorization system, which we already discussed. Marketplace conditions, the market is not good. US, what happened to the US market, and it had impact on IT projects, isn't it? It's outside your project. Stakeholder risk tolerances. So 1 minute, I think there are so many comments are coming. 1 minute, 1 minute with the news. Devraj says, is there a contingency plan or backup plan if these factors come to place? Yes, we'll discuss in risk management. We'll discuss in risk management, Devraj. So Khadija says, not relevant for PMP for this topic. I didn't get you, Khadija. What do you mean by not relevant for PMP for this topic? So Devraj says, I think it comes under the risk mitigation issues which impact the project. That's why I asked the question. Yes, of course, yes. And stakeholder risk tolerances, the common availability of the information like commercial databases, PMIS, project management information system. Though it looks very fancy, PMIS is nothing but any system which stores your information, your knowledge base, or any information where you can retrieve, store, and retrieve. Assume that you have a state of the art information system where your project information is stored or your old project data is stored. How easy it would be for you to search and do it. If you don't have such a system, you have to open each document to find out what is there in each document. Assume that there's no search option. What will happen? How difficult for you to retrieve the data? How much time it will consume for you to retrieve the data? It's like a Google they are talking to. Google of your company, PMIS, is nothing but the Google, the storing engine, no? Research search engine, or a storing system where all your data is stored. The PMIS, project management information system, right? If you don't have such a system, everyone is it's not centralized. Everyone are keeping in their desktops. How difficult it would be you to get the data? So it will have an impact on your project. So any factor which is external outside your project is called EEF, right? These are called enterprise environmental factors. Now, question, gentlemen, what do you mean by EEF? Anyone?
Enterprise
Enterprise
environmental
environmental
factors
factors
Yeah,
which are
which are
affecting the
affecting the
project's
project's
environment.
environment.
these are external or internal?
External.
External.
External factors. Wonderful. Now let us try to understand a word called stakeholder. Anyone? What do you mean by stakeholder, Jim?
Someone who is in charge of a task.
Someone is in charge
Who are
of your task.
responsible the executions of the task.
Who are responsible
Different
for the
persons.
execution of the task. Okay. Any more contributions? I agree. I will take both of yours.
Or
Or
beneficiary also,
beneficiary also,
not only
not
task.
only task.
Beneficiary. Why not? Yeah. Oh. Now let us see what is stakeholder. A stakeholder is the one who is involved in the project, who is negatively or positively impacted by the project, who can negatively or positively can impact the project, right? As a team member, you are involved in the project. You are a stakeholder. You can negatively impact the project. You can positively impact the project if you are doing well. Because of you, your customer may be negatively impacted. You are positively impacted. So anyone who is negatively or positively impacted, or who can impact negatively or positively, is called a stakeholder. Normally in financial terms, we say stakeholders are normally who has a stake in the company financially, or the customer. But anyone who can negatively or positively impact or get impacted, they're all stakeholders. For example, you are constructing a chemical factory. The neighborhood around the chemical factory will be negatively impacted because of the pollution from the chemical factory. So even they are stakeholders because they are negatively impacted by the pollution from the chemical factory.
But it doesn't matter considering the organization, right?
Right?
Sorry?
These people around, they don't matter considering the organization.
They matter. They matter.
Yeah, but then they are maybe passive stakeholders or something.
Whatever may be, but still they are stakeholders. See, remember what PMP says is you should have social responsibility first, and then the project.
Okay.
Right. So first the social responsibility, then the organization responsibility, then the project responsibility, then the self responsibility. Right.
Yeah.
So this is an example. It can be your sponsor, your customer, your users. What is difference between customer and users, gentlemen? Anyone? Difference between customer and user.
Maybe customer is a person who buys a particular project. He is like a client for the company. And user is somebody who uses our product. It could be common public. Like we are users of GoToMeeting.
Okay.
And maybe
Or maybe owner
somebody
also. User is only user.
Okay. Okay. You are Vivek. You are very close. You are very close. A customer is the one
So
who
we are
buys.
user.
One who buys
Sorry.
Yeah. Please go ahead. Sorry.
No.
Yeah. A customer is the one who buys, who pays the money for this entity. Is a customer. One who uses will become the end user or the user. For example, you are working for Infosys. Let us say you are for Infosys. And Infosys is providing, let us say, ATM services to State Bank of India, SBI Bank, State Bank of India. For SBI, Infosys is the customer because Infosys sorry, for Infosys, SBI is the customer.
This
For Infosys, SBI is the customer because SBI pays money to Infosys. But the let us say ATM services they are providing. But the ATM services they are used by public like us. We are all the end users. We are not directly paying to Infosys. It's a SBI which is paying to Infosys. So the SBI IT head or someone, they will be the customer for Infosys, and we are all the end users. It's like no, you are paying school fees for your kid. You are the customer for the school, but who is the end user? It's your kid who is using the services actually, consuming the service actually. So one who consumes a service or a entity is called the end user. One who pays for it is called the customer. Your vendors, they are stakeholders. Your business partners, organization groups, functional managers. In a way, everyone is a stakeholder. Is it clear, gentlemen?
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, wonderful. And now let us see project team. What do you mean by project team? Anybody who is working or associated in the project is a project team. A project team will have project management staff, project staff, experts, consultants you may hire from outside, user representative or customer representatives, vendors, your business partners. Can anyone be part of the project team? So what is difference between project management staff and project staff? You have to understand here. Project management staff means some senior team members along with project manager, they will be given the responsibility of managing the project. Some senior team members, let us say I have 20 members team, right? In that I have selected Devraj, Anil and Maleshwar being the seniors as a project, as a management team, right? I am the project manager. These are the senior guys, team leads or whatever you say. They will be managing on behalf of me because I cannot do all the activities. I'll get the management things done by them. So they become the project management staff. Project staff means your typical palanquin bearers, no, the technical people who are working in the project. They are the project staff, the team members. They will be the project staff. Supporting experts. You may take some external experts, no, they support user representatives, customer representatives, sellers, vendors. Because you have a lot of vendor dependency in the project. You'll be buying some softwares from Microsoft. You'll be buying hardware from Dell. You'll be buying routers and switches from Cisco. If you are into a construction project, you'll be buying cement, you'll be buying iron, you'll be buying steel. Yeah. So Devra says then project staff doesn't have decision making authority. Yes. Normally, yes. Normally you have a separate project management staff. They may have some empowerment that is done. And this is the project life cycle, right? The start of the project, you organize and prepare the work that is more related to the planning, carrying out the project work, right, and closing the project. So these are the stages of a project life cycle, right? This will already be discussed, and we discussed 5 process groups. What are the 5 process groups, gentlemen? Anyone quickly? 5 process groups.
Initiation,
Initiation,
planning,
planning,
execution,
execution,
and
and
monitoring and
monitoring and
control and
control
closure.
and closure.
And closing. Wonderful, wonderful. And these are the 10 knowledge areas, okay, which we discussed as part of slightly as part of this demo. These are the 10 chapters. I told we have total 11 chapters. One chapter we have finished with the project management framework. What is the first chapter? Project management framework. And these are the 10 chapters: project integration management, scope management, time management, cost, quality, human resource, communications, risk, procurement, and stakeholder management. I'm giving you 2 minutes time. I request you all to remember these knowledge areas. It's very, very important that you remember these knowledge areas.